Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. So let's just dive into the first photo. I'm very curious to see what you sent over. And yeah, I just want to dive in. Is that you seated? So it's a black and white photograph. You're wearing army fatigues. You might be wearing a sort of life preserver, like an inflatable life preserver. I'm not really quite sure. It's you as a young man with large hands. Maybe it's because you're wearing gloves. You're seated. It's a black and white shot. It's not especially crisp, but you're seated in this exposed helicopter bay. It looks like a helicopter bay. And there's a seat right there facing outwards. So I'm assuming that as the helicopter's flying, some lunatic gets to sit in that chair just facing the outside world. And why don't you explain what this photo is?
That photograph says that to me about my state of mind at that time.
Yeah. So is this early on in the conflict? Because from what I understand, in terms of the little history that I know of the Falkland Islands, they were basically a mix of peoples, and they were kind of a pawn by Argentina to lay claim to that part of the ocean. And so this was a Thatcher government, right, that sent you down?
It was, and one can view it politically or whatever. But Margaret Thatcher said they're not. Galtieri said we're going to take them, so they came in with tanks and vehicles and thousands of soldiers, as well as aircraft carriers and gunboats and everything like that. And Margaret Thatcher asked the First Sea Lord whether we could take it back, and he said, "Yes, we can." And then we got this whole armada of state-of-the-art warships to cross-channel ferries, roll-on, roll-off ferries, sailing south to the South Atlantic, accompanied by all the various tankers and logistics. I mean, it was an amazing feat, and obviously we took the Falklands back. We had something like 30 jet aircraft, and the Argentinians had 170.
Mm-hmm.
So we were outgunned at that time. However, the parallels remain that American satellites were giving us information that helped us during the war.
Right.
So again, the parallel with today is clear.
Mm-hmm. So you're a 22-year-old guy. You maneuvered yourself, or you've migrated or found yourself sitting on helicopters, doing the jack of all trades, working on the submarine detection, being a gunner, navigator, all these things. And in the photograph, which is a very haunting image because it's a super close cropped shot of this helicopter. And how early on was this in terms of your tour down there? Was this at the beginning? Was it in the middle? Was it at the end? And by that point, what was your mindset like? I mean, as a 22-year-old, your brain isn't even fully baked. So what's going on?
So that was taken in the middle of the conflict. After we had gone into the Falklands, I think it was taken around the 21st of May. And the 21st of May, 25th of May. I know the date because it's the Veinticinco de Mayo. So what had happened is that we had sunk one of their huge warships.
Okay.
With a submarine. We torpedoed one of their warships, the biggest in their fleet. And that caused the whole of the Argentine fleet to go back to its ports and never to come back out again.
Oh, wow.
Which prevented a huge sea battle.
Yep.
Because that was what was going to happen. But that day, we knew that they would come back at us. And their Air Force then came out and sank HMS Sheffield.
Oh, okay.
With an Exocet missile. So we knew that the gloves were off at that point. And that was taken, I think, in the evening of that day. It was before the assault on the Falklands when we went in to the land base, but it was after we'd started taking losses. Up until that point, it was all gung-ho.
Mm.
And after that point, that shows what my feelings were at the end of that day.
In your mind, and this is how memory is, right? Like that photograph was just, I mean, it's just a step back. It's just there, right? You were there. That's the connection and the overlay of the memory and the present and all this stuff. You've described how you've used photography very as a utility, and then the way we met was because of this connection with the current conflict between Russia battling into Ukraine. And so what's happening inside your mind and your thoughts, inside your motivation with the experience from the Falklands and then the experience of today? Like what's that blend feel like?
I think it's visceral. I think
Yep.
I think what happened was when it started, I just felt when I started seeing the refugees coming out of Ukraine, and let's face it now, everyone's a photojournalist.
Right.
Everyone has a camera which has got high quality video, everything. And the images that were coming out of Ukraine of the refugees made me want to think about what I could do for them.
Mm.
And what's interesting is there's very few NGOs on the ground, but that photograph that I have
Mm-hmm.
created this feeling that I needed to be out there.
Got it.
I absolutely needed to be out there helping, but I knew that it was a drop in the bucket if I just went myself. So I got a flight out and used the things that had happened. In fact, that's probably photograph 2, which is a big change in life.
Okay. Is that your segue to the next photo?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.